I begin with a 2x2 document in Affinity Photo. You can use whatever photo editing software you have access to. In my case, I'll use a 2000 pixel by 2000 pixel document just to help avoid blurriness. I drag out guidelines to determine the 4 quadrants of the document. Make a new layer, and I make a 1000 pixel by 1000 pixel square and fill it with white. I duplicate the layer, move it to the right, and fill it with black. I duplicate both layers, rotate them 180 degrees, and move them into place. I group the layers and make sure the blending mode is set to normal. I export this as a PNG, and this will be my texture. To use this grid texture in Blender, import the texture into the shader editor and connect it to the base color of the principled shader. Change the 2D projection to box. I also add the texture coordinates and mapping nodes and set the texture coordinate to object. I rescale the texture to 0.9. In Unreal, I import the texture into Unreal Engine. I right-click and make a new material and open it. Add a texture object node and open the texture in the Details panel. I then add a World Align Textures node, which will help the texture properly wrap around the object. I connect the texture object to the texture object input. I add a constant by holding down the 1 key and left-clicking. This will tell Unreal what the size of the texture should be. I change the value to 100 in the Details panel, and this will align it to the grid in Unreal. I connect this node to the texture size of the World Align texture. I add a World Position node and connect it to the World Position input. If I plug the XYZ texture into the base color, I can now see my texture. I hold down the M key and left-click to add a multiply node. This will help me to change the color later. I connect the XYZ texture to the A input of the multiply node. I add a vector parameter node and rename it to color, and this is what will allow me to change the color for material instances. I connect the vector parameter to the B input. I connect the multiply node to the base color. To see the texture, I change the default value of the material in the Details panel to a mid-tone gray. To control the roughness, I hold down the 1 key and left-click. I connect this constant node to the roughness input. In order to have access to the roughness in the material instance, I right-click and choose Convert to Parameter, naming it to roughness. I then save the material. Back on the level, I right-click on the material and add a material instance, which I drag onto the cube. I open the material instance and activate the roughness and color parameters. I can now change the roughness. A value of 1 is completely rough, and a value of 0 is completely glossy. I can now change the color, which will add a tint to the white part of the material. This is just a very basic grid. If you want a more in-depth tutorial, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video about making a grid texture in Affinity Photo, you may enjoy this video. Have a good day.